Hello everyone, I'm Ruta Sniedzekretalo and I'm working in Latvian Fund for Nature, and I have been interested in boreal Baltic coastal meadows for years actually. Uh, I'm just curious what's happening with them, and that's why for me was interesting the conservation degree of this habitat. Um, Boreal Baltic coastal meadows is a priority habitat of EU importance, which occurs in around the Baltic Sea, mainly in Estonia, Finland, Sweden, and in lesser extent in Latvia, and also very few in Lithuania. And according to the latest Article 17 report, the overall assessment for this habitat is unfavorable bad, and it's decreasing. And the situation is the same in all boreal region. But in Estonia or neighbors, the situation is much better with this habitat type. What is a boreal coastal meadow? Actually, it's amazing habitat. And when we are talking about this habitat, actually we have to think and talk about landscape unit. It's not just one plant association. And these grasslands, it is so that these grasslands is one of the ancient grasslands in our region. And some of the grasslands are hundreds and hundreds of year old history, and they are very very high biodiversity because these grasslands are flooded by brackish water, and changing salinity gradient changes towards inland, and that's why there is very interesting pattern and mosaic of various habitat types and various landscape units. As you can see, closer to the sea, there are some like dunes, but with the vegetation of grasslands, and there are lagoons and reed beds, and upper there are some previously arable lands, but now they are naturalized, and also there are various grassland habitat types. And in the largest coastal meadow areas, almost all plant some natural grassland plant communities occur. I'm just now I'm just talking about these plants and plant communities. I'm not talking about invertebrates, amphibians, and bird species, which also are very diverse part in this landscape. These habitat types occurs very rarely and evenly, mainly in lowest parts of the beaches around Lake Liepāja, which is connected with sea by the channel, Lake Angura around Marsrax. One polygon is in Lake Bebite, meadows of Lielupa River mouth, Pie Jūra, and Randu meadows. The field surveys were done during the period 2015 and 2018, according to the mapping methodology for semi-natural grasslands. The field survey forms was filled, and for each grassland polygon, where following parameters were assessed, like species richness per 1 square meter per 25 square meters, species composition, grassland structure, past and current management regime, natural processes, anthropogenic impact, and the conservation degree of grassland habitats was evaluated by using the method for botanical quality assessment for semi-natural grasslands, and as this habitat is a landscape unit, such landscape that additional landscape level indicators were used for overall assessment. And the results. In my presentation, I will talk about the polygons, and according to Latvians' habitat mapping approach, we have to map one polygon. If there are different management regimes, this would separate, you see, they are very close to each other, but one polygon is managed, one not managed, so there are two different polygons. Where is the pointer? Oh no. Oh my God. Sorry. Where is the pointer? Okay. So after the GIS data analysis, we have more than 200 hectares of grasslands, which is refers as habitat type 1613, and the average area of polygon is almost 3 hectares. I really think that actually, historically, all this was one large meadow, but nowadays it is separated by the very, very dense reed beds and different management regimes. Most of the coastal meadows are within Natura 2000 sites, and only 5 polygons occur outside protected areas. The main problem is that there is absence of management. These meadows are abandoned for decades, actually. And as we know that meadows depend on management, which is very, very important. And in the coastal meadows, there are some additional problems. If you don't have any management, but we know that these coastal meadows are regularly flooded with brackish water, and so these reed brack piles and stretches occur after every storm. So if there are no management, they are just accumulate. And in very many sites, actually, these brack piles are, this stick is 1 meter long, and this pile is even longer. So after on these piles, the neutrophil species starts to grow, and it's impossible to remove. You cannot burn them because they are wet, actually, under the and you can maybe with some tractor you can remove, but actually for I didn't saw any site where these rack piles were removed. So another problem is that as we have this excessive little layer, the expansive species occurs, and this white plant is very rare, Angelica palustris, and actually it's the one species which represents this habitat type 1630, and all the other is Calamagrostis epigeus. So for round meadows or Liepaja river mouth rivers, in many sites this is the normal, like, casual situation, that only some halophyte species we can found, but actually it's very, very degraded. that kind of landscape also occurs quite often. These are reeds and other expensive species overgrown with Calistegia sepia. It's not possible even go through such such place. I'm not even talking about the management. So it was the place where very rare species, Carex mackenzie, once was found. So that's about the absence of management. But actually, approximately 1/3 of the coastal meadows are managed, but the management is inappropriate. For coastal meadows, it is very, very important. Actually, historically, they are more like grasslands which are grazed, not hay meadows. And but nowadays we don't have such cattle so much, and we are searching for the easiest ways to manage these grasslands. So we would like to use tractors, but tractors can go only in driest, highest, and flattest parts. But it is very often that there are stones, and these are not easy managed and mown areas. But with tractor, you see the dense stretches of reeds are left because they are too wet for tractor, and then tractor goes and mows. It's very often that the mowing is late, and grass is cut very high, and even if it's collected, it is done very casually. So it's not a good management. For coastal meadows, it's very important to have quite intensive management regime. And in areas where these coastal meadows occur, it's very often that there are no transition zone between grassland and sea, and there are only few windows, like made by fishermen or people, but there are no such normal transition zone. The results, the largest share of coastal meadows was not managed or managed in inappropriate way, and this result is that in 63% of all polygons, the Phragmites australis and Calamagrostis epigeus were dominating the vegetation. As excessive little layer where occurs almost in half of all polygons. What is interesting that our coastal meadows are not overgrowing with trees and shrubs. So in such looking at that, this indicator, or coastal meadows are in good, quite conservation degree. But when we are looking at plant species richness, which is measured as the number of species per 25 square meters, it was very low, over the half of the polygons, and nobody reached the good quality. And the same situation, and even worse, when we are looking at species richness in 1 square meter. The majority of our polygons were in poor with indicator semi-natural grassland indicator species. That means that there are less than 5 indicator species in 25 square plot. And this indicates that the abandonment has initiated the simplification of plant communities. However, this cumulative cover of semi-natural grassland indicator species is still quite high. That means there are some potential for successful habitat restoration. Landscape level indicators, which are very, very important for them, and the main, I think it's one of the most important, is low vegetation. For this habitat type, the vegetation should be really low, as the characteristic species are very tiny, these halophytes, and they need much light. And only in one polygon in Liepāja Lake Natura 2000 in Vītiņu Meadows such vegetation occurs. And all the other sites are, the vegetation is very, very high. And you see that the diversity of characteristic species is very, very related. If there are small grass, there are quite good composition of characteristic species. If the vegetation is high, then also the characteristic species are not so diverse. Another important indicator is absence of reed on long stretches of beach or border of a polygon. And also you see in Vītiņu Meadows it's a good situation, and it's only one polygon in whole Latvia where such situation occurs. In all the others, all polygons are bordered with dense reed. About the polygon size and wide, the situation it's much better. So most of them are bigger than 5 hectares and wider than 100 meters. It's a good potential for restoration. And presence of rare endangered species is average in all sites. But what is important and very, very bad that our main coastal meadows site, Randu Meadows, have only 2 rare species. One is halophyte, and maybe one is not halophyte species. It is very, very dangerous situation actually, because historically Randu Meadows was one of the like pearl of for rare plant species. But now there are only average 2 rare plant species. For coastal meadows, it's normal and it's good situation that there are presence of shallow water bodies, and they are still there. But when I looked at this indicator, I'm just checking is there a shallow water body or no. I'm not looking at quality, because actually, of course, it should be open and connected with the grassland habitat, not covered with dense reed stretch. The main conclusions is that the regular grazing and mowing has driven too many typical species to extinction, while expansive species, particularly the reed, has expanded extremely, and only in 10% of total area of both coastals we can say that they are in good conservation degree, and it's Vītiņu Meadows. And all the other sites and polygons is referred as medium or low conservation degree. Even this very rich, beautiful boreal coastal meadow in Priedaine, it's not in good condition actually, because the vegetation is too high. There are plenty of typical species. They are endangered and rare species, but still it's actually not in good conditions. And Vītiņu Meadows, yes. If you want to see the normal coastal meadows, you have to go to Vītiņu Meadows near the Lake Liepaja, and it is grazed. They are really in a really open landscape. They are connected with other rare grassland habitats. The total open area is more than 50 hectares, and it is grazed. It is grazed with wild horses and cattle for more than 2 decades. And yes, what this is how it should look like. This is very small grass. So they are full of halophyte, small halophyte species. And there are some concerns that maybe it's too overgrazed, but as this landscape is very open, and there are some parts with like this sparse birch stands, where rare species like Gladiolus imbricatus and Iris tiberica, Sanguisorba officinalis, they live here happily actually. So it's a quite normal and good situation that there are some places which are maybe like overgrazed, but there should be mosaic, and this is good situation. But when we are looking at our main site, around the meadows, you see these dense reeds, and actually the coastal meadow vegetation starts only here, and it's not functioning anymore. The lagoons are closed, and they are not suitable for migratory birds and rare amphibians as well. And I really hope that in some future we turn around the meadows in such a beautiful landscape like Haeske meadow in Matsalu, nature reserve. Yes, they are reed, but it is such high, and it's regularly covered with the water. So it's very beautiful and very diverse landscape.